all the unique characters.
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
All the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 85 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. If I could peel back the curtain here, this episode has been in the works and discussed for a while now. I've only been joined by one coach in combat sports in the 84 episode history of Forged in Ohio. Well, today I'm going to be joined by the first MMA specific coach in the show's history. I know this man has one hell of a story to tell, and I only know the tip of the iceberg of it all. Joining me today is Apex Fight Systems owner and head coach Bryan Clark. Thanks for coming on the show, Bryan, and welcome to Forged in Ohio.
Hey, it's awesome to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, man.
Of course, like I said, it's long overdue, and I made do on my promise of getting you on the show before the end of the summer. Like I said, I know you have one hell of a story to tell, and having spoken to you a few times in person, I know you're full of great stories. So let's take it back to the beginning, even before Apex. How did mixed martial arts enter your life?
Oh, man. So it was probably, obviously watching the early UFC tapes, right? Wasn't on TV, had to get VHS at Blockbuster, A1 Video, and having wrestled a little bit in high school, wasn't bad, just didn't know a lot, but I loved it. There was a sport, if you want to call it that, called shoot fighting in the area. It seemed MMA-ish back then. They'd have a tournament, Southern Ohio, Mississippi, in a tent on grass, and looking back, I should have known better, but hey, you show up and it was a couple wrestling mats on some grass under a tent, and you're in there, fighting, shoes on, no gloves, could wrap your hands if you wanted to. At the time, it seemed awesome, like real competition, beating people up, having fun, like you were going to be in the UFC if the UFC was ever sanctioned at the time. But looking back, I was beating up guys out of the bar, off their couch, just people walking by that wanted to do it. But that's where it started, man. The competition, wanting to do it, entering these tournaments and lying about my age, saying I was 18 when I was 17. They didn't check, but, and then just, there weren't a lot of gyms to go to, so it was like you go and you do well and you would win money. They were all pro fights because there was money involved. There wasn't any amateur scene or anything. But you'd go there, let's see, look, $2,000 prize or whatever. If you win, you might win $2,000, but they don't cover hotels. They don't cover travel. You break your hand, break your nose, you're down $1,000. But was it 98, 99? I think the UFC was sanctioned in a few states, and things got real. And that's when you kind of opened your eyes, like what I was doing wasn't really it, but at that time, it was just hard. You couldn't find a place to train, but that's what got us started. The training I did do back then, I was helping other people, just almost like coaching fighters kind of a thing. Fast forward to about 2003-ish. Some gyms started to, pop up here and there, stopping in, seeing what they're about. But it's just so hard to train when you're working full time. It's living on your own, paying bills. And it was just hard to try to get back into it, especially when what I thought was going to be really big ended up being kind of a circus show, like under a tent. It's what it was. But I think that experience is kind of what ties me to the guys I have here now, where I get working a full-time job, having to come to the gym and making the sacrifice, giving stuff up. But what they don't get is they didn't have any of this, or at the other gyms in Ohio. You didn't have that, but that's kind of where it got started as far as just opening my eyes to something that I didn't think I was going to be this into. In 1999, if you'd asked me if I was going to be a gym owner and have 55 fighters, acting like I'm their stepdad, I think you're crazy.
Yeah, so there's a lot there, man. Back in those days when you were competing in those events on grass, shoes, and without gloves, how'd you do in those competitions?
I mean, I did well, but like I said, there wasn't a lot of competition, man. Like if I'm comparing now to then, it's not even the same. It's not the same. If me and 10 fighters walked into a bar and started a fight, that was the competition. It was not the same. Most of the events had 3 weight classes. I think there was even one, was it the Midwest Shootout? They had small, medium, large. Those were their weight classes. It wasn't even a weight. It was thrown together. It's laughable now, but people didn't know better back then, and you had some of the guys that I had lost to, had trained in something, kickboxing, or just like I said, I wrestled a little bit, but you get a solid wrestler that's the same size as me, I'm getting out wrestled, especially back then before I really knew anything. Jiu-jitsu was just starting to get big, so you didn't know a whole lot about that. Catch wrestling has been around for a long time, but even in those tournaments, you couldn't fish hook people, it's come a long way. But no, I did well. I had the Northwest Shootout champion I won, but like I said, at the time I thought world champ, I'm the best ever, and it was cool. It was great. Looking back, I beat like 8 dudes out of the bar off their couch that their girlfriend thought it'd be a good idea for the fight. It is what it is. I've never said I'm the best ever, or lied about what I did or over exaggerated it. It was cool when it happened. It got me started, so I wouldn't change anything.
Did you ever compete in like actual sanctioned MMA fights in your career?
I had stopped before it was actually sanctioned. When I was training at Evolve, I was thinking about taking a fight, but single parent, working full time. And then I remember training one day and I started seeing spots. I had polyps and ulcers in my esophagus, cutting off my airway, ended up having surgery on that. Not that it was a major surgery, but it was just getting to be too much. And at that time I couldn't train, and I was 31 at that time when I was getting ready to try to do it again. It was just 15 years too late, man.
Do you ever have like regrets or look back at those times that you might wish that you got that one in, just to say you could have done it, just one amateur MMA fight?
Every day. Every day. I mean, even still, I have one of my coaches here that I have to, have talks with him because he wants to fight again. And it's a conversation if he should or not. And I tell him, like, man, every day I think, man, if I jump in there, I got 40 seconds for anyone that walks in the gym, sparring, rolling, whatever. My shoulder's hanging on by a thread. But I'm like, I can hit the weights, cut some weight, strengthen the muscle around my shoulder, and just do one. Just do one right now. But it's just not worth it right now. And I'm a big believer in you cannot coach and compete at the same time. Even though I want to, the drive's there. I want to. Every coach wishes they still could. But you just can't do both. Looking back, I mean, yeah, I wish I would have got one and, see what kind of run I could have went on maybe. But even still, I'd probably have to fight at 70, like at the most. And I mean, I'm 228 right now, out of shape, but hey, it's just a different world. So who knows how it would have went,
Do you still believe in that philosophy, I guess, of being a coach, you can't fight at the same time here now in 2024, or is that kind of gone away in your mind?
No, you can do it. It's just, if you're a coach and you decide that you're going to compete and fight, you're pulling away from your fighters. Everyone's philosophy is different. Mine is, if you're going to be a coach and you have guys depending on you, you got to be there for them. If you're competing, there's going to be times you have to be there for yourself. Like MMA, it's a team sport, but it is a selfish, independent team sport. You have to get your own work in. You can't worry about everybody else. But you can't. It's hard to succeed without a team too. So as the coach of that, it's the double-edged sword. You're trying to get your work taken away from your fighters. Giving all your fighters best work you can give, you're pulling away from yourself. So which do you lean towards, sacrifice the other?
So now that we know a little bit more about Bryan Clark, the competitor and athlete back in the day, how about Bryan Clark, the coach? Was there something that sparked your interest in coaching the sport?
I was at a gym just training, and then I was asked to be an instructor. I was happy to do it. I've always been a good teacher, no matter what it was. I can communicate pretty well. I've always been able to translate. Like if you can't pick something up and you played baseball, I can put it together somehow so you can understand it. I've always been like that. Ended up moving, left the gym, and then I called Unique Fitness, called Scott Keener back in the day. And I was like, hey, I live like 600 feet from the gym. Like, what are the memberships? I just want to come work out. And I was just talking about lifting, But he was like, I knew him from when I worked with the NAAFS. I do private lessons with Isaiah Chapman. I help, manage him with several others. But there was a connection there, whether it was shopping in, dropping off tickets, or, holding mitts for Isaiah, going over all little details, whatever. But he was like, bro, yeah, come on in. I want to talk to you. Come in. I was like, oh, all right, cool. Maybe they'll give me a deal on a membership, So I walk in and he was like, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, working out? He's like, yeah, cool. But what are you doing right now? And I was like, I don't know what we're talking about, Scott. And he's like, you want to teach an MMA class? And I was like, right now? And he's like, yeah, I've got like 5 guys back there and no coach. Like, sure, why not? So I walk back, it's K.O. Butler, Joe Riley, George Pointer, just to name some. And there's back there waiting. I knew most of them just from the fight game, weren't as close as we are now. But one practice, and I remember it was K.O. Butler that was like, hey, you gonna be our coach? And I was like, let me talk to Scott. Like it went really well. Like the class went well. And then I was the head coach of Rock Hard MMA, Unique Fitness, head MMA coach. And we had a good staff. Chris Kriebel was the jiu-jitsu coach at the time. Corey Van Meter was the boxing coach. Like it was really good. So that was kind of the fire where like, I'm a good head coach. Like I relate to the guys well, everything translates, and they were into it. And within a month, the numbers went from like 8 to 12, 15 people training. The gym ended up shutting down maybe 9 months later. And then I went to another gym, big trash can, didn't work out, had to get out of there. And then we were training out at LA Fitness for a year. Everybody stayed. That's how, I don't want to say the program, but like the team, like the family that we became, everybody stayed. We did well. LA Fitness was kind of like, we kind of miss it. Like you had a pool, we had a basketball court, you could, whatever you wanted, but no cage, no ring, cleaning blood off the racquetball room when we were done, having to wait for a Zumba class to be over so we could go get bag work, but it was a good time. Then found a location in North Akron on North Arlington Street. Not North Akron, East Akron on North Arlington Street. One of the worst parts of Akron, like probably one of the rougher areas. I don't know if you ever seen the building, but no windows, back door didn't work. The wall in the back had a crack about that big where you could look up and see daylight on the whole 120-foot wall. It was, 11,000 square feet. It was huge. But we were there for just over 4 years, built up the numbers, and built the gym too, starting from scratch. We went in there, I had 300 square feet of puzzle mats, a pair of Muay Thai pads, and a pair of mitts. That was it. That's what we went in there with. And within 2 years, just everything out of pocket, no sponsors, no investors. All of a sudden, we had a cage, we had a ring, and I was, working for another promotion as well. We borrowed their cage. They pretty much stored it there, and we helped set it up for fights. But it was very not humbling, but it was, starting from the bottom and building up. And I think that's the best way to do it. The guys that stayed with me, KO, George, Jamar, Isaiah Chapman, when he was with us, Corey Breckner, he was in and out, but he was with us, that saw the growth. Where I'm at now, it's appreciated by them much more. Some of the new guys kind of don't see the build up and take it for granted a little bit, but without the struggle, there's no progress.
Yeah, I remember talking to Norm Carrero here on Fortune, Ohio about that old Apex Fight Systems location and how he almost missed that atmosphere. Could you say the same, or are you glad that those days are now behind you?
I can say the same. It was very I don't want to say like a dungeon, but it was. It was, Norm was a unique fitness guy too. He was already in the Army when I took over, so he wasn't there. He had already been there and left. But it was, you go to Unique Fitness, you walk down into the basement. There's the the bodybuilding gym, and then you got a MMA area. So the transition for those guys to the location in Akron wasn't that big of a deal, because it was grimy, grungy. We cleaned the gym, but it still had the not even warehouse look. It was past that. It was like, if you watch a horror movie and there's gonna be bodies hanging from meat hooks, this is where it was. Like I can send you pictures to show you, but I mean, it was a car shop. They had the cranes for hoisting stuff up. Those were gone, but all the beams, and it was a mess, man. We had to knock down walls. But you knew you were getting the word. People walked in there, they were like, "What's going on?" But it was the work. It was a big location, but it didn't matter. It wasn't like it wasn't like a UFC gym. You know what I mean? You walk in and it's super commercial. Everything's brand new and shiny. It was the work. You had to work. And now where we're at, it's not commercial, but we're in a plaza. I have this big window, didn't have a window at the old location, and we're next to a bar, and, you'll get the guys looking in the window, telling their girlfriends, I'd go in there, but, I don't want to hurt anybody, which we'll be in here watching. I'll be lip reading for them, and it fits every time. But I wouldn't change it, man. It was a step up moving here. It's better for the team. It's better for the brand. It's better for my guys. They get more attention. We have more numbers just because people know we're here now. Even though I'm a private club, I'm not open to the public. I don't advertise. It's word of mouth, and what you see when the little I do post, it works. But it was definitely a step up, and it's worked out for the better. The plaza we're in, my friend Keith Shin has one of the best gyms around. 4 doors down in the same plaza, the Steelyard Training Complex. So I didn't have to I had a full weight room at the old location. I got rid of the weights, moved in here. He works with us. He's an awesome dude. So you have a full training facility. It's a 30-second walk to get in the doors down there.
Talking with Bryan Clark here on Forge in Ohio. Sounds like there were some growing pains that you went through in the early stages of establishing Apex Fight Systems. Were there points where you maybe questioned what you were doing or had doubts about being able to build essentially what you have now?
Never really questioned what I was doing or doubts, because what I was doing was for the guys. I wasn't. The location I had found was pretty cheap. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't I'm gonna do this full time and not have to work. That was never in the plans. I love doing it. 90% of the people I train work day jobs just like me. They're coming to train, I'm coming to coach. It was never like, let me jump in, see if I can do this. It wasn't like opening up a restaurant, you know what I mean, where it's about making money and serving the community. Here I'm trying to help build a community, give fighters a place to train, and not to sound cliche, but I'm helping turn young people into young adults, guiding them. I'm literally stepdad, uncle, whatever. I'm 46 years old. I'm usually the oldest guy in the gym. I got one coach that's older than me, but as far as regrets or none, like not at all. Wish I would have won the lottery. Other than that, I wouldn't change a thing, man. The only hard days are weekends. Like you take a loss or something, it's a hard weekend, and Monday, short memory, back to normal. We have tough love Mondays where win or lose on a fight. Mondays are great for me. It's not bad for the fighters, but it's humbling for the fighters because no one's ever perfect, and I don't say I'm a perfectionist, but I'm pretty good at breaking stuff down, strategizing. So Mondays after a fight are usually rough for the fighter, short memory, back to it. Now the Sunday, that's my hard day. I'm emotionally attached to everybody here. I'm in the fight. When I'm watching a fight, I'm here, I'm in it, with every person. So it's short memory, and then Sunday, everything is just in my face, going over it. And it's, as a coach, it's did I do everything right? Did I do enough? Did I push them enough? And I'm on their asses. Like, don't think I'm not. Like, you can ask any of my guys. I will get annoying. They hate me sometimes, especially during a weight cut. Especially KO Butler. You ask him. Like if me and him weren't so close, sometimes you would think me and him were about to fist fight if you hear our conversations. But it's all love. It's part of the game,
Is it safe to say that you sometimes take those losses harder than the actual fighters themselves?
Absolutely. Especially if I know someone goes in prepared 100% and it just doesn't work and something happens. I don't say I take it personal, but it's personally hard on me because I'm not that I doubt how we work or what we do here, but it's very, I'm still a competitor, I still want to win. If we lose and it's a great fight, awesome. I'm proud, but I'm still thinking like, man, what could I have done different to help him do better, to counter what the other guy did? So I don't say I take it hard, but I don't ever take it easy, if that makes sense.
Having talked to so many Apex fighters, both in person and here on Forge in Ohio, I can tell that there's a brotherhood there and the loyalty is off the charts. What's it like seeing that as a coach and in part, being responsible for creating that?
That's probably the thing that makes me proudest. It's being at some other gyms, and I don't want to say I stole it, but just seeing how they run. Like I did my little gym tour when I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna coach, but I want to do it right. So some of the gyms I had trained at, like Evolve had it. Evolve had the brotherhood. Everybody was down for Evolve. Everybody. Strong South had it, still has it. AKA in San Jose, they have it. Unique Fitness, rock hard. Even more so because it was a smaller gym, smaller team, but their walkout, you'd have 50 people walking out with them, and they're a smaller gym. But when thinking about how do you build that? I can't just be like, all right, Jake, come in. Hey, it's Apex or nothing. F everybody else. You can say it, but it doesn't mean they're going to buy in. I tell everybody, trust the process. If you don't believe in me or the gym, this probably isn't the gym for you. When people sign up, I tell them that. Come try it out. Not every gym and not every coach is for everybody. It's the truth. If I'm not for some people, it's no hard feelings. I know I'm not. I'm pretty blunt and honest about stuff. Some people don't like it. But the work we put in, how close I work with everybody, even in a class setting, I will walk around and work individually with tips for everybody, and jumping in and out, making sure they're doing the best they can. And then that starting with me, it's contagious, right? Starting with me, and then it trickles down. The guys that have been with me the longest, they're the ones that help the most. Not me, but they'll help. I help them. I help the other guys. They help the other guys. So it's like a chain of command that everybody helps everybody, from pros to week one guys. Everyone trains together. A little slower pace for the newer guys sometimes, so they catch up. But that aspect of it, along with how hard these guys work, some people haven't heard, most people have, but the conditioning here is insane. Like you'll never see one of my guys that's not a super heavyweight out of shape ever. It's the hard work, the camaraderie, the rah Apex. That's great, but it doesn't matter what the gym was called. These guys will stick together because of what they go through here.
By the way, why is the gym called Apex Fight Systems? Where did you get the name?
Oh man, so when I was looking at a name, there's a business aspect to it too. I want to be the top of everything. At first, Apex Fight Systems, when I was looking, I want a name for a management company. Like if I'm doing boxing, MMA, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever it was, something to cover all aspects. I didn't want to just be labeled just MMA or just boxing, because I think a lot of gyms kind of getting a foothold and they can't move out of that. Like you don't go to a boxing gym expecting to do MMA. It's hard. Some jiu-jitsu gyms, the same thing. So I was just kind of thinking, I'm like, I'm in Summit County. All right, Summit. All right, what's the top? All right, an Apex. All right, also Apex Predator, like the top of the top. But it was more the peak of a mountain, the Apex, right? So, and I was like, what can I do? Like it's a fight world. I didn't want to call it Apex Fight World. And then I'm like, if I'm bringing in other people or whatever, it's their systems too. So there was Apex Fight Systems. There was the best name in the business. And then years later, this is probably 6 years ago, we had that eclipse during the day. It was probably 3 p.m. on like a Tuesday or some shit. And I remember out there looking, and I'm staring at it. I'm like, man, I wonder if there was ever an eclipse right behind the apex of a mountain, because that would be a badass logo. And then now there's the logo.
Yeah, there you go, man. If I told you back when Apex Fight Systems was just an idea that it would be where it is now, or maybe perhaps after you taught your first ever MMA class, would you have believed me that you have gotten this far and have what you have now?
I probably, man, obviously I want to say, yeah, I'd believe you because I know my work ethic. But at the time, like Ohio's been up and down with MMA gyms, right? There's a lot and they're high level, and then there's only a couple left. They're up and down. Being one of the top gyms around, I'd have loved to hear it, but it would kind of be like, believe it with some doubts, like, well, we'll see how it goes. Cause I also know how expensive it is. And I knew back then, like how expensive it is to run a gym where you can have 40 people training at once. It's not a small room where it's, hey, 10 people next class, 10 people next class. And sometimes that's what you have to do. But one thing I'd love to hear, I'd have believed it, but financially I'd have had some doubts.
Once again, this is Bryan Clark here on Forged in Ohio. In terms of coaching in general, what does it take to be a good MMA coach in your opinion?
You got to be real. If you can't be realistic about your capabilities and your vision, you'll never make it. If you're not a good coach, you have good ideas, you love it, you want to do it. If you're not realistic about you have to have other people come in and coach, you're never going to make it. You can have all the money in the world, big, nice gym, but you're not going to have a team. You're just not. They'll figure out your BS. It's just not going to work. And then as far as vision, you cannot, let yourself be complacent. Like the whole, like never be satisfied. Like these old, football t-shirts, you have to grow. Like I won't say names, but there's gyms that have done the same thing for 10 to 15 years. And the last 5 years, you see it catching up because people adapt. They pass you by. If you can't change, you're, go on a bad run, can't figure out why. And especially as a coach, especially in MMA, it has changed so much just in 5 years, let alone 15 years ago. If you were a great boxer and you could sprawl, you would do great in MMA. Same if you're really good in jiu-jitsu and you can cover, you'll do really good. And then it stopped. Then you had to be pretty good at everything, or at least good. You know, now it's getting where, okay, everybody is pretty average or above at everything. And now if you're great at one thing, that's what you see, because it's hiding your weak spots, building up to where we're training ninjas. You know what I mean? It's literally, we're training ninjas. But it's the adaptation, man. It's seeing what everybody else is doing, seeing how these fighters are performing, seeing what works. And I think, and I don't want to say I'm the only gym doing it, but there's going to be a big push on how in shape these guys are. They can know everything in the world, but how in shape are they? Best fighter in the world, you only last 30 seconds. That's not it's going to come around. The cardio, the strength training, especially, I think is coming back around. And then it's in 2 more years, who knows what it's going to be. You know, it's a crazy game. It's ever evolving. And as a coach, if you don't keep up with it, you're going to have a rough time.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the importance of staying up to date with what's new in mixed martial arts, because the sport is still so young, and like you said, it's constantly evolving. Is it hard to forecast what the future of the sport has to hold, or do you think of that often, like how different MMA will look in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
It's one of those things that it's constantly on your mind, but it's not the most important thing today, right? You're always thinking about tomorrow, but you got to worry about today. Like, you know, kicks. Are they gonna ban the oblique kick? You know what I mean? That there's something. It's all the little stuff that if they do that changes a lot of people's game plans and how they fight. I don't think it's a big deal, but the 12-6 elbow, what are they gonna do with that? Not that it happens a lot. It's usually against a cage standing, but it's all the little things that add up. You know, it's like pennies equal dollars. Yeah, no one cares about 1 cent. It doesn't matter. But as they add up, it stacks. So you're always waiting to see weight classes, man. That's a huge thing. When are they going to add 65, push 70 to 75? That makes the most sense. That is a game changer. You got guys cutting damn near 30 pounds to make 55, to make 70, and just add 2 more classes. But it's like I said, there's nothing so drastic that you would have to game plan for to change everything you do. But weight classes, certain, strikes or whatever that could be allowed or disallowed, but when it happens, it's important. But everything else is just, what are these guys good at? They can box, they can't wrestle. They can wrestle, they don't like getting kicked. They're a wrestler, they have all the potential in the world, but as soon as they get their nose touched, they're timeout. That's the game changers that are every day, and everybody's different. Not to jump ahead, but with that game changer, you're going to see hopefully a lot of these coaches learn that they can't make little clones of themselves. You can't do it. Everybody wants to. This is what I did. This is what you should do. That's going to be the hardest part coming up, because there's so many athletes trying to get into MMA that have different skill sets. So you really have to coach them at what they're good at, and somehow figure it out. Like, if I'm horrible at head kicks, I ain't throwing head kicks, I'm top heavy, I'm falling on my ass. But I got guys that like head kicks. So you have to study, look it up, or find someone else who's good at them to make them better. That's going to be probably the biggest adjustment going forward, because of all the different athletes getting into the sport.
Yeah, this sport is full of different characters and personalities. How hard is it to manage that aspect of MMA, having to coach maybe a certain way to accommodate everyone?
It's not that big of a deal for me. I've worked in customer service and managed restaurants, so I'm used to dealing with people. That's maybe an advantage I have. I grew up in a pretty diverse neighborhood. Wasn't really an issue communicating with different types of people for me. So being here, now I have some psychos in here. I have some guys that they talk, and I'm like, stop, listen, but different sports, and those athletes, they're different. Baseball players act different than soccer players, act different than football players. guys will walk over from the bar next door who maybe have some potential. It's a hard conversation sometimes, but the characters we get in here, I think maybe because I'm so straightforward and just honest with everybody up front, 20 people walk in, 8 of them stay. Just on my conversation with them. And because it's a private club, I need to weed those people out anyway. Not anything that's bad. They may go to another gym and do great. It's no hard feelings, nothing, but it's, like I said, it trickles down. So when they come in and I give my little speech, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do. Give you 1 day to figure it out. Come in, try it. It's either for you or it's not. If they buy in right there, most of the time, as soon as they get in with the guys and see what we do, their character comes out, the personality's there, but it blends in with everybody, man. There isn't one type of fighter that comes here except hardworking. So
When it comes to those characters and personalities in MMA, drama is more than guaranteed. How do you navigate the drama that is the fight game, whether it be between fighters, between gyms, all of it?
Man, so in-house, I jump right into it. I'll talk more in here, hopefully, than there's one person that talks more than me, and I'm not going to say his name because he'll message me right now, but, and everybody knows he's the loudest dude always, but, I'll jump right in and be the voice here, but it's all in fun. We'll get it out here. I preach, like, we don't talk shit until we have to, but what we have to say is by our performance, right? That's what we push here. And there's little jabs back and forth, whatever. And sometimes I got 2 kids here that like to talk a lot online, and I'm try to guide them, but they're also young. It's a whole different type of person, the younger you get, everything's online. I try to wrangle it in, but you can only control that so much. But for the most part, everybody they may say what they have to say and then they back off and just let it play out. Gym to gym, in person, if I have something to say, I'll say it. I don't say a whole lot online. Even if they're coming after me, it's all right, cool. You can talk, you can say what you got to say, but you're talking about me. You're irrelevant to what I do. That's how I look at it. Being talked about isn't a bad thing. It's like the whole, all publicity is good publicity, and it is. There's very few times I've felt like I've had to reply to something, unless it's like a blatant lie or a personal attack. That's only happened maybe twice. But try to stay out of it, and I do have some drama with 2 other gyms. They know who they are, and 2 other gyms and 1 person, but it's personal and on the business side. So it hits on both. I won't even say their names because it doesn't matter. Hopefully they watch this and they'll comment and talk a bunch of crap and everybody will see who they are. But it's not even worth it, man. We're doing so well here, and I have so many guys with potential that are already there. Why even bother with things that don't matter, And the last thing I want to do is the cult aspect of an MMA gym, which is gigantic because everybody gets brainwashed by what their coach says. I try not to do that. The last thing I want to do is open my mouth and say a bunch of stuff and get these guys so fired up they lose focus on what they should be focusing on, which is the fight and who's next. So
Yeah, when it comes to what you guys do in-house, is there a better feeling when you see one of your fighters either win a fight, maybe even win a championship, or just even achieve something in training that small? How good does that make you feel?
One of the best feelings in the world, man. Like at practice, like just a simple, we call it the Tyson switch. You're literally just switching stances, throwing this body hook or an uppercut. The coordination. I'm big on body control and coordination in everything we do here. And it's hard for some people. And you see them get frustrated. Watching someone be so frustrated with something they can't do. Like, they can't do it. And I'm like, you can't just keep going. Start slow. Like rungs on a ladder, right? You don't jump up on top of a roof. You got to climb up. And then when they get it, they're happy. Like, they're happy. And they do it again. And then now it's their favorite thing to do. And it was so hard at first. That's That's in-house at practice. Nothing better. Like, you see, they're succeeding in the work. And if you can't succeed in the work you do, it's hard to get to your actual goal, right? As far as like seeing someone execute a game plan in the fight, great feeling. Winning a title, great feeling. My personal favorite is I don't yell at the fights. I'm just right here. I'm talking so they can hear me. But hearing what I say and watching them do it, and it works. That's my. There's nothing better. There's nothing better. Hell, Jack Schaal. Here's an example. You know, was it his first fight? You know, he gets that inside out trip, or he misses it the first time. I say, hey, it's there. Wait a second, do it again. Then he gets it. And I'm like, hey, knee on belly to full mount. He waits 2 seconds, knee on belly, full mount, and fight was over in 5 seconds after that. That I loved, you know. When Isaiah Chapman fought Rob Walker, I was like, hey, he's a Muay Thai guy. This is what's going to happen. You're going to kick in the cup because of how he kicks, blah, blah, blah. You're going to go for takedowns, going to go for heel hook, you're going to get an arm triangle. And it's happened like 4 or 5 times, but in order, everything I said happened in order. He gets your arm triangle. He looks at me and winks. Then he gets up and he comes over. He's like, bro, what in the hell? How did you know? And I'm like, it's a styles, right? It's just styles. But when Branson Price, you know, he's got a guy against a cage, and we call it Spider-Man. We jump up, get your heels on their hips, and you dig your boots in. He's getting ready to do it, and I'm like, don't do it. And he's punching. Look at me. He's like, why not? And I'm like, look where the cage is. You're going to hit your head on the cage when you fall forward. You're going to cheese grade yourself. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he just kept doing what he was doing. Just having these guys so prepared that you can have a conversation during a fight without stopping the fight, you know, without changing the pace. That's all preparation. That is what like in your heart when you're like, this shit works. Like, this is working. This is why they're so good. That's my favorite.
Man, I know we're running out of time, and there's so much more I could ask you about, and I'm sure it'll lead to a second appearance of you on Forged in Ohio. Before we wrap up, just anything you want to promote here at the back end of the show. It can be anything about the gym, maybe some upcoming fights. The floor is yours.
Oh, man. So, Intimidation Athletics, they help us out a lot. Jamar Moore, he's doing his custom mouth guards. Definitely hit him up. They're solid. He can, and anything you want on that mouth guard, he can do. He's doing a really good job. You know, we're getting ready to head down to Kentucky, July 13th, ECC Nightmare Promotions. Branson Price, last amateur fight, going to be fighting for the 45 title down there. Tough fight against Matt Moore. He's got some wins against some Ohio guys, so get a little payback. Mylon Parobek going down for his 3rd win. Who else? Ron Campbell making his debut. I have a board back, so that's my battle board, you know. And then, you know, July 27th, we got 4 guys fighting for Cage Thunder, hometown gym, hometown promotion. You know, and then August 17th at Nautica, we're getting ready to load that card up too. I know they haven't really released the fights yet, but I know there's some big names on that card that when they release it, it's gonna pull some names in for sure. But no, it's like, as far as like I said, we don't have any big sponsors, no investors, but my guys are watching this, you know, thank them. It's their commitment that makes the gym go. You know, I can do everything I can do. If they don't buy in and walk through the doors, this doesn't happen. So all my guys, thank them, their family, you know, or jobs that help them with their schedules. You know, it's the little support that starts, then like without support, this doesn't happen. So all the Apex fighters, thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
And thank you for doing this interview too, man.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure, man. Thanks again for coming on the show. I'm sorry it took so long to make this happen, but I couldn't be happier to finally getting you on the show. Before I get you out of here, I do like to do the OHIO chant with guests, both fighters and coaches alike, who join me on the show. So, OH.
Ohio!
Thanks, Bryan. Thanks again for the time. I wish the best for you and the team in what sounds like is going to be a pretty busy summer and second half of the year. And I'm looking forward to a future second appearance where I'll ask you a bunch more questions about MMA coaching, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you. And part 2 will be great.
That was Bryan Clark, the owner and head coach of Apex Fight Systems. I featured several fighters from Apex on Forged in Ohio, from Jeremy Riley to Roman Parobek to Jack Schaal to Branson Price. It's like there are too many to name. This was certainly a unique episode of Forged in Ohio. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you all did as well. Let me know if this is something you want more of, by the way, for me to branch out to having guests on the show who are obviously still in combat sports in this space, but not necessarily active fighters. To support the show, don't forget to download episodes wherever you listen to them and go subscribe to the Forged in Ohio YouTube channel. You can also find the show on Instagram and Facebook. All you have to do is search at Forged in Ohio. Thank you all for watching or tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.